Hello everybody, my name's Konami and welcome back to the unboxing, where today we are back with My Hero Academia. Now, I bet you're like, what the fuck is Deku doing here? Well, this figure, you saw it in a very recent unboxing, if I am scheduling things correctly, but it caused a bit of a problem. This is a very good figure. It's not necessarily that, I mean, it is the figure's fault, but it's not because this is a bad figure. This is a figure that I heartily recommend to pretty much anyone. But the problem is that it's so good that it brought me back into a middle school hyperfixation, which is a problem. Uh, but yeah, so obviously with anytime I have a fixation like this, that means I'm going to be getting toys. So that means I might have gotten a little bit impulsive. So today we are taking our first look at Revoltech in a long time on this channel with the Revoltech Ochaco Uraraka. Let's bring the camera up, move the cameras over, and get Deku out of the way for a second. We'll look at this in a bit. But first off, here we have the figure. Again, technically, on the unboxing, we've never looked at a Revoltech figure ever. However, if you look at my old reviews, I want to bring back reviews and I want to do them better, but those are old reviews back when I was in, like, high school. I reviewed the amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech Iron Man. And I haven't really taken a look at Revoltech stuff at all since then. They just haven't made things that I guess leapt out at me, but now I'm looking back at all their like MHA stuff, and I'm like, fuck. So yeah. We're starting with Uraraka, because she's a character I don't have. But the other real option was their Izuku Midoriya. But since I do have an Izuku, currently I went with this one at least first. I am heavily considering getting the reissue of their Izuku. Yes, Ochaco Uraraka, aka Uravity. She has like gravity powers. It doesn't really matter. What matters is she is like the main girl of MHA. There's a decent number of female characters. How exactly they're handled is, from what I've heard, whatever. But I have liked her design in the past, so I was like, they're making a figure of it, might as well, or they made a figure of it, whatever. And yes, before you comment, yes, I do know about the SH Figure Arts one. I bought this before that was announced by like 2 days. I might get that one. It has some things I like more than this from what I've seen. It also has some things I like less than this, which we will get to, I think. But either way, it's time to look at this. This is a very different style of Revoltech box from what I'm used to. You probably know the old Amazing Yamaguchi boxes. I can't really get to mine because it is kind of hiding under the stack, as you've gotten used to in the background. But for the Amazing Yamaguchi line, which is one of their main lines, which is technically isn't a part of, whatever, it had these big maximalist comic booky aesthetics, but now it seems like Revoltech is switching to a more minimalistic box style. I've seen people complain that these don't have windows. That's not necessarily something that I'm too mindful of, but it is a very plain box. It is a large box. I'll bring over a SH Figure Arts for comparison. Here is like a similarly sized figure box to Deku. Again, I put Deku in the stack, so we can't really deal with it. But as you can see, it's quite a bit larger. There's a bit more stuff, but yeah. So we have a image of the figure here in a standard pose with a decent background, not amazing. It says Revoltech, Kyoto, whatever the fuck this is, 60th anniversary of something or other. Ochaco Uraraka, the name of the figure. On the top, in that similar generic font, Ochaco Uraraka, Revoltech, and then the My Hero Academia logo. On this side, we get a pair of images of some of her faces, which look amazing. Revoltech, I imagine that says Ochaco Uraraka. Yeah. Kyoto. On the bottom, you have QR codes to look at stuff on their website, I guess. You can't really get there because it's Japanese. Warnings. This is a toy for adults 15 and over. Don't eat it. I mean, it's an adult collectible, not a toy, but it's a toy. We know this. On this side, it's a little bit horizontal, but we got Revoltech, Ochaco Uraraka, and we have an image of the figure kind of floating there, which is pretty neat. And on the back, we had a lot of promotional images. We got this kind of unreplicable sticker with 2 Ks, I guess, because of Kyoto. Toho Animation, Revoltech, Ochaco Uraraka. We've got an image of the figure with a thumbs up. We get her in a more actiony pose, her using her abilities for like rocks, a floating pose, a sitting pose, and like an excited pose, as well as a image that shows all the stuff that the figure comes with outside of the main figure, which is always appreciated, as well as the usual legal stuff, I imagine. However, what is an unboxing if we don't unbox the figure? So without further ado, let's take a look at everything. There we go. Unsealed. There's like a little bit of hair for some reason, but whatever. Blonk. On the inside, it's blue, and ooh, that's interesting. Uses less like cutting, I guess. That's interesting. On the top here, it's in a glossy material, which I'm not quite used to. We've got an instruction manual that shows you how to plug things in places. That's always appreciated. Be careful with your expensive toys. My dear collector friends. Those are always nice to have. But let's get the figure out. Squeeze a little bit. Okay. As you can see, to help protect the paint job, she is a bit covered in like plastic wrap. But of course, that won't necessarily be the first thing that we look at here. So without further ado, let's begin. It's obviously one big plastic tray. Let's get another look. There we go. There we go. That's good. Anywho, comes off nice and easy, it appears. There we go. Nice and careful. Let's put that to the side. And let's start with the stand. This is the same stand that we've seen before. Rather than being in a baggie, it's in its own little corner, which seems a bit wasteful space-wise, but it's the same basic Kyoto stand. There's a lot of portholes for the stand to go, which is appreciated. And it also comes with a claw, if you want to use this with other figures. It also comes with the stand arm, which should, there we go, nice and stiff, plonk into place. Bit of a loose arm. It stays in there, at least on mine. I've seen some QC where this falls off a bit easier. But this is a nice stand. I've always liked it on my Iron Man, so I'm glad to have it on another figure. Anyways, let's go from, I guess, bottom to top accessory-wise and then get to the figure. So we're gonna go with these. These are rocks. They have like a little ply on them, because I think from what I've seen, of course, I'm not to the point where she is using this in the manga yet. I am at, I'm about to do Overhaul, I think, in the manga. But I haven't seen her use these yet. I imagine that's like a claw, like a Dr. Octopus claw, given how those look, that sticks onto it, and like, it doesn't really matter too much because these are already zero gravity, and then she flings them at people. But you get 4 of these. Let's take a look at all of them. They are different sculpts, it looks like. Well, maybe they're the same sculpt. I don't know. Yeah, they're the same sculpt. At least these two are. But they look nice. And then, looks like there are 2 different sculpts. There's that smaller one. That's like more ovular, and then the somewhat triangular one. Nicely painted. They look like rocks. They're also nicely sculpted, some subtle cracks that kind of get lost in the paint. The pink could be cleaner on the claw bits, but I'll live. Next up, she has a hand rack so that these don't become weird and warped. As far as hands go, they do look nice. They are unique to Uraraka. You can see sculpted on the little finger pads that are used so that she can make contact with things to make them have zero gravity, because that's her power or whatever. I wish the pads were painted, though, like a light pink. I'm pretty sure that's how they are in a lot of the colored material for the series. But she comes with these 2 splayed open hands. This splayed open hand, which seems repetitive. I think she has fists on her. I think it might be slightly different. I think it's less extreme, potentially. Yeah, less extreme. A slapping hand, so that she can slap Izuku in the face, and a thumbs up hand. I know it's down, but thumbs up. And it's not a clear rack. I kind of wish it was more of a solid plastic, because clear plastic's a bit easier to break, but I always appreciate a hand rack. It helps keep things organized, and it helps keep the holes open. Next up, we'll go with the hairpiece. So, she has her headgear usually, you can see it here, but thanks to the way that she tends to be in the series, she also includes a set of bangs that do not have the headpiece. This is a nice option part to have because it allows you to do different looks for Uraraka at different points in the series, where she might be a bit more casual. And it's nice. It's not too rubbery. It's nicely painted. It looks good. I don't have much to say about it, but it's nice to have that as an option. Let's start with these now. So, under a light layer of plastic, somewhat taped down, it kind of feels, like not really taped down. I'll move those down there for now. We have the Doc Ock tentacles that she has for one reason or another. She comes with 8 of these, 4 for each arm. And they are nice and thin and small. I wish they had a bit of bendy wire, but you can plug these into one of the 4 included rock pieces at the pink end, I believe. Yeah, at the pink end. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it sticks on nice and solidly, and it can have her throw the rocks. And this end plugs into her wrist gauntlets. They're mainly used for combat. I'm pretty sure it's 8 of the same sculpt from what I've seen. They might be angled different. This one's angled differently. That might be a QC thing. I don't think they're quite the same sculpt, but they serve practically the same purpose. Yeah, they do have different angles depending on how you want them to look, and you get 4 for each side. I imagine the different angles are mainly so that it can look like it is going upwards, even if you have them on a lower point of the figure. So yeah, that's nice. You get, again, 8 of them. Nice ribbed sculpt, gray paint. The pink feels a bit light, but yeah, these look generally nice. Not the craziest accessories in the world. But the reason we're going down to up is because of the thing that kind of sold me. One of the things that sold me on the figure. There are 2 main things. One of the things that sold me on the figure, though, are the faces. I've seen other Ochacos, some that are fine, some that are good. I've seen the SH Figure Arts one, the one image that we have seen at this point of recording, which is automatically going to date this video, but none of them have face sculpts as nice as this. So we have a straightforward kind of smile on the figure as it is, which we'll get to later, but we get a looking to the side, and looking at it already, it is perfect. The sculpt is down pat, and it looks great from all angles. Obviously, it's meant to be kind of looking like this way, which works great. But it is just perfectly proportioned, perfectly painted, perfectly sculpted, and it looks just like her in basically all the media she's in. It's just one of the best, if not the best, like anime character face sculpts that I have ever seen on a figure ever. It is so impressive how well this is done, honestly. Next up, we have a more happy face. Whoa, whoa. Ooh, and they have like a little bit of brown there to help with, I guess, the color inside the mouth for the tongue. And again, this is very, very nice. Very cleanly painted. It's even cleaner painted than on the prototype images on the front. The teeth look great. The blush looks great. The eyes and eyebrows look great. And this, again, this looks just like her, like, character models and whatnot in whatever medium you're using. These are some just amazing face plates. And then she has a another happy face, but with eyes closed. Again, these are fitting for her as a character, so it's nice to have it as an option. And again, it looks great. It looks amazing. It looks just like how Horikoshi generally draws these characters, and how like the animation adapts those drawings and whatnot. And yeah, it just looks great. Next up, we have a stern face looking forward. She can look stern because, you know, she's a superhero, so this is nice to have. Again, perfectly done. There's not too much to say, saying it over and over again. Then we have a similar stern face looking to this side. Let's do it like this. Left. Sorry, I'm bad. But again, very similar sculpt to the straightforward one, but looking to the left. And it's good to have these options. Allows for more dynamic poses, as long as they aren't the only option. But since they aren't the only option, it's good to have. And then we have one of the most interesting faces. I guess we'll call it the desperation face. She's obviously angry, but like it's more of like a tired anger, it looks like. Like she's been in a fight for far too long. Mine has a couple of QC issues, it looks like, unfortunately, but it still looks nice. The QC issues are mainly in the mouth, and they're going to be hidden most of the time anyways. Sorry, my thumb was covering it, but again, this looks absolutely stunning. It looks just like her, and then like if you put like the hair up front, and it's like, yeah, yeah, these are some pitch perfect head sculpts, honestly. But finally, having all the accessories out of the way, it's a decent number. Other Revoltechs have included more. I kind of wish she had some more effect parts potentially, given the price, but it works fine. But now it's time to look at the figure herself. So she's covered in a plastic wrap, I imagine, to help cover her up, but and like not let her get paint chipped. But first off, it's fairly weighty, all things considered. It's a heavy sculpt. I think it feels about as heavy as this Deku, if not. I feel like it's slightly weightier on this end, which I guess helps the premium feel. But like, yeah, I guess getting out of the way, I think they scale pretty closely. Ochaco might be a bit short. But these seem close enough to me, to my eye. It almost certainly scales better with the Revoltech one, but this seems about right if you want to mix and match the lines a little bit. Sorry for the slight overexposure. There we go. Yeah, this seems close enough to me that it should work if you do want to get the SH figure arts for this, and then like this one for this. This should work fine. Or like if you already have the Revoltech ones and you want to get this SH figure arts one, since the Revoltech one is in a different look than when this is like final arcs, Ochaco costume wise, and the Revoltech one they have is a little bit before that. She doesn't have this version of the costume until Deku looks like this, so if you want to mix and match so that you can have more consistent looks, this works. However, this isn't about Deku, this legitimately amazing figure. This is about looking at this figure, which from what I've seen is also quite good. Okay. Let's get things a little bit swiveled a bit better. First off, the swivels are... Okay. Give me a sec. Give me a second away from the screen to get the swivels intact, because I think the joints are a bit tight. Give me a second. Goodness. I can just do that. Give me a sec. I am being a bit fussy with how I like my figures. Will you work? No, I don't want to chip the paint. Sorry, the gauntlets, I believe, do swivel, but one of my gauntlets has swiveled the wrong way, essentially. So I gotta work it into its proper place. Come on. The paint does make this swiveling tight, so as you can see, this is meant to be over here, and I tried to... I might need to heat that up. Or there we go. Don't have to worry about it at all, baby. I am clever and smart. Let's get her hand back on the wrist peg. And it's a straight peg, but it does feel nice and tight. A lot of this figure honestly feels quite nice and tight. The tolerances feel great overall from what I'm feeling of the figure. And again, looking at the faceplate, looking at how it integrates in the head, it looks stunning. It looks great. It looks just like she does in the series. Next being a little bit fussy, but I guess that's how you get that good range. It takes a second to get used to, from what I've seen with a lot of Revoltechs. This one, since it's a lot more of a standard sculpt than what Amazing Amaguchi tends to do, it is a bit more normal to pose, but it still will likely take you a minute to get used. Oh, there goes the neck. Give me a sec. To get used to how this figure feels. Again, the head looks great. Most of the paint looks good. There's a little bit of like overspray on the pink here on the chest, but it feels weird to point at it like this. But you can see it where like it's like 3 lines, but like the bluish, the navy color is kind of overspraying slightly, which isn't bad. But overall, it is quite nicely portraying this look. If I had any complaints, it looks a bit too leaning too much on pink from what I'm used to seeing. I'm used to it being a bit more of a white. Like it's obviously like a pink, like a light pink, but I'm used to it leaning more on the white end of a light pink than a pink end of a light pink, but it's not bad. I should clarify. It's not bad. Ooh. Um it works fine. It works fine. It works fine. It works fine. It's just something that my eye has to get a bit used to. It does work, and it does portray the suit very well. It's not super intricately sculpted, but like that's kind of how this suit's meant to look. Where the sculpting needs to be, it is there. So like the dimples are sculpted that are like on the around like the neck area. The ribs here are sculpted, even if there is a bit of paint overspray. The belt is sculpted nicely. The neck is sculpted nicely. But overall, it's a fairly plain jumpsuit, and it works quite well in doing that. And obviously on the back, continues that nice level of detail. And her design is just quite good either way. It's a very fun kind of Mega Man-y design. That kind of design language has always appealed to me, and yeah, I am glad to have it. But Revoltech figures are really known for their articulation, so I guess we should get into... Oh yeah, also some quick notes. I do like that some of the clothing, something I kind of just noticed, some of the clothing ribbing is, it's not super evident because of the lighting, but there's a little bit of, like, clothing, like creases and curves, which I always appreciate in a costumed character. Helps to alleviate some of the plainness, I guess, would be the term. Anywho, I guess we gotta get to the articulation, though, because this is a Revoltech figure, and these are kind of known for their articulation. So, as far as the neck goes, there's like a Revoltech hinge, sort of, in the upper neck, and then a ball joint down here, as you already saw. Gets up about that far. Oh, there's some paint chipping on mine. I'll live. Gets up about that far-ish, which could be better, but, oh, and the neck does have a tendency to fall off. But looking down, thanks to the hinge, is no problem. She can look down extremely far, and that's nice and appreciated. The bob does get in the way of looking up, unfortunately, but she can look up enough, and she will especially be helped with some of her torso articulation. But before we get to that, let me straighten out the neck a little bit. Shoulders. There are butterflies, which allow the shoulder... Ooh, that's a pretty good butterfly, all things considered. It's quite a small butterfly, but it's good. And allows her arms to go about yay far. It would be enough to hold a sword, and that's generally good enough for me. Yeah. The shoulders are on these kinds of ball Revoltech-y joints, so they're able to get out about 90 degrees. They can't really get out much further, which is good enough. Swivel all the way around. It's a bit tight, but whoa. Okay, give me a sec. I'm getting things out of order. It looks like they can swivel all the way around, but things get in the way of other things, and you know how it is. With jointed action figures. Sorry, I wanted to just make sure I didn't fiddle with it too much, because this is very expensive. There is a swivel up there. It's not like cut here, unfortunately. It's just kind of up here, which doesn't mean it gets all the range you might want, but it gets enough. That's more than enough. It's able to go in and out, and yeah, that's more than enough. Single hinge at the elbow, which is probably my most disappointing. It only gets 90 degrees. Thankfully, it is hitting to the conflict point, kind of. But yeah, and there's also a swivel down there, which does help to compensate for the swivel. This works fine as a double compensationary bit. I do kind of wish her elbow went in a little bit more, but like I understand why. I believe, obviously, this little hook thing is on a hinge, and I do believe this swivels, but it's been very hard to do, but whatever. And the hand is on a basic kind of import wrist peg, where it's peg, swivel, or peg, hinge, peg, which allows for swiveling however you may want it. It gets down and up. That's about the range you're going to get out of that. From what I've seen, though, some of the torso range is pretty great. So, able to arch down fairly far. Able to arch up. Whew. fairly far as well. That is a great range, and it's also able to go side to side. As you see, sorry, I'm bad at portraying it. And then you got to pair it with the lower joint, which could go further, but I don't mind. This pairage works very well. It's also able to go back quite well as well, and then going side to side. Hell yeah, that's basically all you need. That's very good. 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 There we go. Legs also kind of compound onto that. They're able to go all the way up and then some a little bit. So as you can see, she can like go like that. And yeah, that really shows. This is what sold me on the figure, seeing it be able to do this. This is just so good. This is so good. This is so good. This is so good. It'll hinge out nice and far, not really able to go too far. It goes back surprisingly far, especially since it's a figure with a prominently sculpted butt. But yeah, thigh swivel, basic cut, but it seems fairly tight. It does have a thigh swivel though, but I had to hold it that tightly because there's also a swivel here at the single jointed knee, which is able to get quite far, especially since the lower bit is on a ball joint. So it's able to hinge out that far, swivel obviously, but also has a little bit of a rock. So you can take advantage of that to help with one of the most ingenious pieces of design and engineering I've seen on a figure like this. So I've seen people complain about why it looks like this, but it makes sense because if you've seen any version, the sculpt on the boot is stupid and annoyingly consistent. So in order to get any sort of like actual ankle, having a cut would break up that sculpt and would not look nice. So figures before this, the McFarlane and the Figma, just didn't bother. And it looks like the Figuarts is doing it, but with a more like inserted approach. But I kind of prefer this because it allows for the, outside of the slight cut, a more consistent ankle, while also acting as a fairly tight ankle pivot. It is tight because of the paint, but it works. And the knee is on, or toe also hinges up. So you can have this figure do awesome, cool action put. Let me try to see how this. She is solid on her feet. You don't really need the stand, even with like it like this. But this allows for a much more solid foot down on the ground. It's just such an this figure, like with a lot of Revoltech, is full of little bits of ingenious engineering. But this figure reigns in the Yamaguchi stylization, which isn't bad. It's very much up to the taste of the figure enjoyer. But yeah, this figure is honestly quite strong. I do quite enjoy it. I'm very happy with my purchase. I might get the Figuarts when that comes out. We'll see. But this is a very strong figure. It is certainly small, especially given the price. Obviously, here is the Izuku, and as you can see, it is a good bit bigger. It's in that like 5-inch range, which is in scale from what I've seen. Might be a bit small for your Figuarts, but I do really like this figure. I think it ends up doing this character quite well. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think I should get more My Hero Academia figures. Should I get the Revoltech Izuku? That'll probably be determined by the time this figure comes out. But if it hasn't, let me know in the comments below if I should get that figure to go along with this one. Let me know what you think of this figure. What do you think of this against the Figuarts version? I kind of like that one's like overall proportions and sculpt slightly better, but this one to me seems like the superior action figure, at least from what I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of it because we only have that one promotional image and it has a worse face. Whatever. I hope you enjoyed this video nonetheless, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye!